were saying earlier, you had like you've got the Call of Duties and the Modern Warfares, and people will chase that, but you've got Apex Legends, you've got all these kind of things now that are going into that sort of just sci-fi, what is possible. So when the sort of design idea and you sort of look out of what does exist, doesn't exist, where does that process start? So you, for example, like with the Osiris, you had that history part of it, but when it comes to other things like the high capper designing the slides, what's the sort of first sort of pencil drawing on or concept idea? Where does it start and where does it end?
Well, literally that. Pencil drawings, basically. It sounds crazy, but no, we're very... we have a very unique situation. We have a very unique setup in what we do. We basically draw something, take inspiration from all various things and put it all into one. And some of the stuff you end up with is hideous, to be blunt. I mean, but also some of the stuff you come up with is like, oh, that's cool. You know, like, why haven't we done that before? So you start with a pencil drawing, and then that'll, you know, I mean, personally, I giggle because I'll do a pencil drawing, and then the guys will obviously let me know, you know, nice picture you draw there, mate. You know.
They put it on the fridge for a day.
Yeah, no, I've had all that. I do basically have that at work. Yeah, we've got they'll put it on the fridge. Hilarious, but it, you know, that is where it starts, and we joke, but it's a very cool process. And then my drawings and the guys' drawings will go over to sort of the guys who start to put it into 3D and see if it's feasible. Start looking at what platforms we can use. You know, are we going to use an existing platform because it's fine? And you know, some of the TM stuff over the years is why, you know, you don't need to change it just for the sake of it. So that's another thing that frustrates me sometimes, is when things are changed for the sake of it.
If something's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly. But equally, I have found through doing this now as well, some of the upcoming projects you guys know about, which I won't go into detail now, but you know, we did feel like it was never great anyway, so why not just change it? So yeah, a bit of both. So we look at all of that. We look at materials. We look at what finishes we can do, and that's why Vorsk got better and better as it's gone, because the more finishes we end up releasing to retail, the more finishes we can then pull from and you know, improve. But yeah, so you go drawing, then it goes to 3D. We've got a lot.
There's a little. So just examples behind me as you're watching. So if you're just curious of all this stuff behind me, when we're going on, is saying that you draw something on a bit of paper, so it goes to the sort of design people who put it into straight lines rather than squiggles.
That's it.
Goes to a 3D person to see if it is physically possible. So this is the original 3D print of the to be released
VM9.
VM9.
You're the first person who's ever said that or shown anyone.
Yeah. So so it becomes a 3D model, and then the one that's at the top is obviously you call like this one a shooter model.
So yeah, we have various stages of samples. So as it goes to 3D, we've got some fantastic in-house printing capability at the business anyway, and that's been really good actually over the last 2 years getting to that stage. And that's just a nonsense. So we call them, they're kind of our looking at sort of samples, you know, check that everything's kind of cool.
It gives you that sort of scale. Is this big enough, or does it need to be another 5%, a bit smaller?
Are all the 3Ds correct? Is that slide going to slide onto the frame? Is the frame the same as another frame that exists? What's the compatibility? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, we go from that, and then we go up from a decorated. Then we go to like a pre-decorated sample, which is a shooting sample. Sometimes we go straight to a decorated sample that doesn't shoot well because it might be a specific thing. So like the VX9 took a lot longer to develop because of the ridge across the top of the slide. Yeah, that's it. That's the first ever shooting sample that came with us to IWA. Back in 2019 or whenever the one before the COVID stuff was.
The last one we were allowed to go to.
I remember that, but yeah, so that took a bit longer. So we went we go straight through because of the grips. You had the rubber onto the wood and all this kind of stuff. So that's those things, although they're not functioning in a way, they're still quite important to get right. So, but then you go up to a shooting sample, and that's when it gets really quite exciting or terrible. That's
so
when...
does each one of these steps potentially have a hard stop?
Yes.
Or is it always, there's always adjustments that can be made?
No, sometimes it just can't. I've had projects where we've made it into 3D, and then we've looked at each other and gone, nah, That's if you release that, that's not right.
So you have, and that'll, as airsofters sort of starting out and getting into the sport, and a lot of players, like, they want to do the YouTube thing, and you're sort of sitting in this position where you've got this, I'm designing airsoft platforms, and there's a huge sort of buzz of getting something like this on the thing, but you've then equally have that, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, so
and you've got to pick yourself up and go back to
you have to draw
from
you have to draw from your experience, and I think that for us, everything we do, I can tell you now directly, is of passion and love to this sport and industry and what we design. And you will find that sometimes, you know, if it doesn't fit into that mold, then the harsh reality is you can't just push something because you personally think it's going to be cool. It has to. There is an industry out there. We speak to guys like you, as you know. You know, we have good lines of communication, and yeah, it has to fit into a place. And if you're trying to then make your sample fit into, you're wrong. You're doing it wrong. So